Hey guys, welcome to Whispers of Charleston. My name is Savannah, and today we're going to go do a short story in Summerville, South Carolina. So, among the colorful local lore in the Tri County area, a number of ghost stories shared not only over campfires but also published in books. Among most well known story of that in Summerville is the Summerville Light. Local lore holds that a strange light, sometimes seen in a remote area, is a lantern carried by that of a ghost of a woman who once waited hours for her husband to return. Some sources suggest the ghost stories began to circulate in the 1950s. Old Sheep Island Road became known by local residents as Light Road, which is a local stretch of road known today as Old Light Road. Revealing the location where the light appears as well as the nature of accounts, it suggested that many, if not all, the observations can be chalked up to natural phenomenon, including earthquake lights from earthquakes that were too small to be felt. Accounts of lights near Summerville cluster in proximity to the epicenter of the 1886 Charleston earthquake. Summerville has a mysterious light that has been seen hovering over railroad tracks. Now a seismologist has offered a scientific explanation for the floating orb. Earthquakes. Suzanne Howe was studying the area's seismology, sourcing old records with references to the Summerville Light, while trying to pinpoint the source of the destructive 1886 earthquake in Charleston. Then she read a Halloween-themed USGS newsletter on spooky science. That sparked to speak an idea that had been in the back of my mind, working on Charleston, that I had never really thought about too much, says Howe in a statement. Another theory is that they're related to the release of gases like radon or methane, which can ignite when these are exposed to a spark or static electricity. Howe believed the railroad tracks in particular are the key to Summerville Light's ghost. The legend of the Summerville Light dates back to at least 1950s to maybe the 60s. Specifics vary, but the most popular telling involves a woman who awaited her husband's return from work every evening along the railroad tracks on what was then Sheep Island Road. They'd walked home together through the dark South Carolina nights, but one day the man was beheaded in a trail derailment. Now the woman exists in extreme limbo, awaiting someone who will never arrive. The spooky lights along the tracks are her lantern, which once guided the couple back home each evening. The story goes that the woman had a husband that was a conductor for the Summerville Railroad Company. Every night around midnight you could see her waiting on the tracks for her husband with her husband's lunch, and a lantern waiting for him to stop and eat. One night he never showed up, and she was told that his train had derailed and he was beheaded in the accident. Although they buried his remains, she never accepted the fact that her husband was gone. She went to the tracks at midnight every night with her lantern, walked up and down for him to come home. People, of course, began to think she was crazy, but she continued this nightly ritual until her own death. Mysteriously, the light has never stopped showing up. It is said that if you go to the tracks before midnight, you can hear the normal sounds of the night: crickets chirping, frogs croaking, and the breeze blowing. But for some odd reason, this has been the case for every person who has seen the light. At midnight, the sounds suddenly cease, as if a presence has quieted them momentarily. Then you can see it. Usually, it's far off in the distance, a light, but nothing else. So it's up to you to read between the fine lines of the story of what's real and true. So, alright, my little bats, just remember, don't leave any stone unturned unless you're at the cemetery. You might not want to touch that. Thank you for listening to Whispers of Charleston, where the streets whisper, but are you listening close enough to hear what they have to say? Alright, bye y'all.